This will be a demonstration of the Quickdraw weaving program's graphical edit capabilities. I can get to the graphic entry of a pattern through the pull-down menu or through the icon. At the moment, it's looking at a thread draft. Let me import what we were just looking at. At this point, it's showing me the threading, treadling, and tie-up for that pattern. Every time I make a change to the pattern, it will automatically update all of those so I can immediately see how many shafts or how many treadles. At the moment, I'm in a thread drafting mode. If I switch to the profile drafting mode, it switches to a block nomenclature. So it'll tell me how many vertical and horizontal blocks. You'll notice the screen got tight here, so I actually ended up putting the mouse over messages under the scroll bar so that it's still available. The image functions allow me to import bitmaps or draw down images, and we'll cover all of these in much more detail in additional demonstrations. I did the import draft. That will take what I had in the pattern and bring it in. The export draft would send it back to the drawdown interfaces. I go back to the editor, clear the grid because I want to get rid of stuff. Let me switch to the tools for a second. The line tool will draw a line in the same manner. The free tool will draw the circles. The fill tool would fill a block, toggle the interior of a block. In the grid, that's a very useful tool. If I copy some threads, I can then use the paste tool to paste back in what I had copied there. And the paste reverses directions when I'm going up, down, or left, or right. Clear the grid again. The toggle tool will take the area that's in the selected box and reverse its directions. If I turn on the framing controls, I can clear just that selected area of the grid. Let me clear the whole grid. Turn off the framing controls, clear grid. The shrink is a function that is used primarily and associated with images. I'll talk about it in more detail. It will take a very large image and shrink it. In that context, the overall grid is 500 points by 500 points. Any image pasted on larger than that, it will pull the center portion of that image. The symmetry controls allow me to either any one of those four axes of symmetry. Let me zoom in a bit, and if I draw a box, let me do a freehand tool. Whenever I draw a box, it's automatically going to make that pattern symmetric. And you'll notice I have the symmetry point on a draw line. If I move that symmetry point, let me show something. If I click there, you'll notice it's double on each side. I'm going to zoom in. If I do a right mouse click at the moment, it's going to reset that to the center of a box. Now if I hit a square, the center line is going to be a single box rather than two boxes. So I can turn any one of those on individually. I also have an ability of setting a reference. So with a mouse down, I set the center point. As I scroll out, it gives me a reference circle. All that is a reference. So if I want to draw a circle, I can then kind of click it in myself. I can also do reference lines. So if I'm doing a right mouse click down, that gives me a reference line there. And if I go left and right, and I can put a number of those in wherever I want them. So when you're drawing, it's a little bit easier to keep track of where you are and keep things oriented. It's also an area where these figures are convenient to see where you have an asymmetry that you need to fix. The other thing, let me clear the grid here and turn the symmetries off. Let me go in and check a fill tool. Let me create. Now, if I call that a profile draft, when I go to threading, it takes me directly to the block substitution. I now have a capability of doing those block substitutions directly. It does the substitution, takes me back out to the, and I've got that pattern. The other aspect of it, if I select before I do the threading, that basically selects the area that I actually want to export. So if I export that, now it puts the border back around it. So by that last selection, it allows me to select how much border I want. This will be an update for version 4.15. In the older versions, it would show me the number of shafts and treadles and tie-up required. What I've done in the newer version is expanded. The old grid size was 256. I changed that up. The newer grid size is now 300. And the other thing I've also done is if I do have a pattern that's more than 32 shafts and treadles, this is a sample pattern from the Fiberworks download. And this is actually 127 shafts and 59 treadles. And it will actually import that to the middle of the grid. And you'll notice it's actually now showing me all of the treadles, and it will actually slide the image down a little bit so that you can see it.